Today's speaker is Andrew Lack, Chief Executive Officer of Bloomberg's Multimedia Group. Mr. Lack is a distinguished media executive who has been successful wherever he has served. Indeed, he is responsible for Bloomberg's expanding television, interactive, and radio operations. Most recently, Mr. Lack was chairman of Sony BMG Music Entertainment and previously served as CEO, overseeing all operations of the global recorded music and video company. Before that, he served as chairman and chief executive officer of Sony Music Entertainment. Before Sony, Mr. Lack served for 2 years as president and chief operating officer for NBC. During his tenure with NBC, he oversaw entertainment news, including MSNBC and CNBC, NBC stations, sales and broadcast, and network operations. From 1993 to 2001, Mr. Lack was president of NBC News, where he transformed the news group into the most watched news organization in the United States. During Mr. Lack's tenure, NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, Meet the Press, and The Today Show each became the #1 in its time period. Before joining NBC, Mr. Lack spent much of his television career at CBS News, where he created and served as the executive producer of the groundbreaking news magazine, West 57th. He served as producer for 60 Minutes and was senior executive producer of the landmark CBS Reports for nearly a decade. Mr. Lack's broadcasts at CBS earned many honors, including 16 Emmy Awards, 4 Alfred I. DuPont Columbia University Journalism Awards, 5 Ohio State Awards, an Overseas Press Club Award, 2 Gravel Awards from the American Bar Association, a George Polk Award, and a Clarion Award. As impressive as his career is, perhaps we at Ole Miss are most drawn by the fact that today's speaker has a deep and abiding affection for Mississippi. He travels to the state several times a year to visit Greenville, where his great-grandfather, Jacob Alexander, was the 4th mayor of a city that was once known as the intellectual capital of Mississippi. Over lunch at the Overby Center a few years ago, Mr. Lack's daughter described her father's feelings for this land by saying, "My dad is obsessed with Greenville and Mississippi." In the years since that first visit, I've witnessed the deep love this media giant has for our state and our people. Please give a warm welcome to Andy Lack.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dean Norton. And congratulations to the class of 2012. Yeah. I am very happy to be speaking at Ole Miss. I had a nightmare last night that I had been asked to speak at this loser school, Mississippi State. I am proud to be sharing a stage with Dr. Ed and Mrs. Meek, the legendary and inestimable Will Norton, distinguished faculty, and to all you parents out there, as the father of a 17-year-old and a 12-year-old, God bless you. Come on, everyone, give it up for your parents. I mean, they gave it up for you, let me tell you. So in order for me to get into that rebel spirit and get to know you seniors better, I asked a couple of students first, where's the best place to hang out with you guys? Everybody told me easy, just head to the library. For those of you parents who still think the library late fees on your credit cards have something to do with books, we're not talking about the J.D. Williams Library. It is my new, if I may show you and indulge you for a moment, my new favorite library card, lifetime VIP Andy Lack. Thank you. Now, I even got up to the balcony and sat at what they told me was the VIP corner table so I could observe the scene, journalistically speaking, of course. Unfortunately, people kept looking up at me kind of disappointed, shaking their heads. Turns out I was sitting where Eli Manning usually sits. Okay, somewhat humbled, I flipped open my laptop. I know many of you are addicted to Facebook or Pinterest or Twitter. I went to a Twitter address that a couple of smart students recommended called J-School Problems. Interesting. Here are a few tweets that got my attention. Things I keep on me at all times: 1, pen; 2, camera; 3, smartphone; 4, bottle of scotch. Then there was this one: all the girls taking journalism for their MRS degree. Guess why I can never learn anything in class? And then finally, no, getting them hammered is not an ethical interview technique. All right, that was enough for me. I was hungry, and I heard the place to go after the library was the Chevron gas station. I said, really? Yep, go for the chicken on a stick, which redefines the meaning of gas station. We're talking about a chicken tender, folks, on steroids, which I submit you don't want to eat unless you are hammered. Looking around the parking lot at 1 a.m., I was beginning to feel like I was in a bad scene from The Hangover. Okay, time to go home. I whipped out my library VIP card and flipped it over to get the phone number of Rockstar Taxi. Nice. For a moment, I thought the driver might take me to the Hotel California. But alas, he was the Eddie Van Halen-themed van, and it was back to the inn at Ole Miss for me. The car radio was playing Adele's Don't You Remember, which made me remember when I was running Sony Music Entertainment 5 years ago. Adele was an unknown English singer-songwriter then, who we were hoping could be a breakout artist in America. We had Justin Timberlake and AC/DC, Springsteen, Beyonce, Adam Levine. It was a great roster. And I kept pinching myself that I was actually getting paid to listen to music. But here's the takeaway for you. That was a cool job. But as you lean in to the next chapter of your life, whether it's in journalism, media and communications, or business, think about what you love. And yes, ultimately, how to get paid for it. The late, great Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, the creator of the iPod, the iPad, the iPhone, maybe the most rebellious innovator in my lifetime. He delivered one of the best college commencement addresses ever. On June 14th, 2005, at Stanford University, Jobs said simply, "You've got to find what you love." And in order to do that, here's what I say are the two most important words that carried me through life: passionate curiosity. Those two words over the years have gotten me in a lot of trouble, but they've also saved me from time to time, both practically and emotionally. Let me tell you just a brief 2-minute story about myself when I was feeling scared about what my future held at the beginning of my television news career. I was worried that no one would ever take me seriously as a producer or a reporter if I didn't cover, for example, one of life's miseries, a war, for example. My generation's war was Vietnam. I got out of having to go, I'm embarrassed to say, because of a lucky student deferment. It was 1969. I was still in college. Many of my classmates and hundreds of thousands of other young Americans were not so lucky. They were wounded in combat or they lost their lives. What did I know about war? I had taken the easy way out. 12 years later, after many rejections, I found myself finally at work at CBS News. I was starting out in production. I asked to cover the 1980 Russian invasion of Afghanistan for a new hit show called 60 Minutes. CBS, to my everlasting surprise, let me go with the great anchorman and commencement speaker at this very podium last year, Dan Rather. After Dan and I paid off a few border guards in the northwest frontier of Pakistan, Away we went with a camera crew, a translator, and a couple of donkeys to carry our equipment. We walked 30 miles through the mountains of Waziristan, and at the end of the second day, I heard my first live gunfire. Russian helicopter gunships fired at a village we were passing through. Then as night fell, mortar shells began landing about 50 yards in front of where we were filming. I was terrified. Think of me as the Woody Allen of war correspondence. Fair to say I was a little out of my comfort zone. My passionate curiosity needed smelling salts. I lay on the ground in a cold sweat, which gratefully passed, and 5 days later we had a journalistic coup. I walked out of Afghanistan with the first pictures, moving pictures for all the world to see, of Russian fighters attacking that godforsaken country. Our story made national headlines. Passionate curiosity was my best friend. I don't think it ever lets you down. Tom Stoppard, the renowned British playwright, wrote recently, "It's the wanting to know that makes us matter." The Meek School of Journalism, class of 2012, this class, I am told by reliable sources, is, like so many Ole Miss classes, famous for working hard. You have that wanting to know, that self-confidence that comes from wanting to know. And that self-confidence, I promise you, is the single most important quality you have that will bring you success in life. Make no mistake, life is unfair. Heck, just look around Mississippi. But I am duty-bound this afternoon to tell you there will be tough stretches in front of you, painfully tough. Your self-confidence will bang up against miserable self-doubt. But keep in mind the advice of another great writer I admire, Lawrence Kasdan, who once said, "Everything we're bombarded with by our culture makes noise. And that noise makes it very hard to hear the ticking of your own heart. And it's only when you can hear the quiet tick from deep in your being that you can know what you know, trust what you know, and be who you are." End quote. The world you are entering is full of noise. The internet is nosy and noisy. Be careful online. Steve Jobs also said in that famous speech at Stanford, he said, "You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, karma, whatever." I'd add one more to that list, roots. My roots, as Dean Norton said, are here in Mississippi. I am a grandson of the South. My grandfather was born in the Delta in Greenville, Mississippi, home to some formidable Southern storytellers, birthplace of your very own best-selling author and journalism sage, Professor Curtis Wilkie. Come on, give it up for Curtis. This is a shout-out to Curtis. He's a Greenvillian. Come on, man. Trust and understand the roots that have shaped your life. Trust in what you know here in Oxford. This place will always be here for you. This spectacular, historic town square, the square, and all that's in it and around it, the alleys, the Grove, and, oh yeah, 6:30 baseball or 4 o'clock this afternoon on a Saturday, tailgating, Roanoke, and Faulkner's grave, where you'll find me in an hour or two, as tradition would have it, tossing back a shot. Here's to all your rebel buddies and soulmates. May the joy of this moment stay with you over a lifetime and bring you peace. Congratulations and good luck.